Welcome to Graphing Linear Equations. We are going to start out with some vocabulary. Y equals mx plus b is the slope-intercept form of an equation. Ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are real numbers. A and b cannot both be 0, is called the standard form of an equation. The ratio of the rise to the run, which we set equal to m, is called the slope. An all-ordered pair that satisfy the equation y equals mx plus b are called solutions. So we have 4 different kinds of slopes, as you learned in middle school. We have a zero slope, that's a horizontal line, a negative slope that starts out high and goes low as you read it left to right, a positive slope that starts out low and goes high as you go left to right, and no slope or undefined slope, which is a vertical line. So the equation for this line would be y equals a number. That number is b, and b is the same b that's up here in slope-intercept form, so that's my y-intercept. Over here, my equation that I would write this in is y equals mx plus b. M is going to always be negative, some kind of negative number. For a positive slope, my equation will be written as y equals mx plus b again with my slope and my y-intercept. M will always be a positive number. And for no slope, I'm going to have x equals a is a number, and a is actually going to be my x-intercept as opposed to my y-intercept. Notice that no slope and undefined slope would be the same thing. So we have some practice. We are given an equation. Whoops, that should be written down here in standard form. So x plus y equals -4. And we're going to write it in slope-intercept form. So in order to write it in slope-intercept form, remember I want it in the form of y equals mx plus b. So it's like our literal equations. We're going to solve for y. So subtract x from both sides, and I get y equals -x minus 4. So that's actually my slope-intercept form. So y equals -x minus 4. I'm going to go over here and graph. So let's see, -4, I'm going to start -4 on my y-axis. And then I have a slope of -1. -1 means down 1 to the right 1. So down 1 to the right 1. Unfortunately, I can't go any farther down because I don't have any more grid left. So I'm going to go the opposite of that. The opposite of that is up 1 to the left 1. So up 1 to the left 1, up 1 to the left 1, up 1 to the left 1, up 1 to left 1, up 1 to left 1. So you're going to go all the way across your grid until you can't go anymore. And then we are going to draw a line connecting those points. Move this over just a tad. There we go. So that's our graph. And then we're going to fill out some pieces. What do we know about our graph? What type of function is this? So you should already know that this is a linear function. What you might not know, though, what is the parent function? You probably never learned that in middle school. So the parent function is y equals x, and that is the basic form of the equation without having changed the slope or changed the y-intercept. Where is the function increasing? So reading my graph left to right, is my graph increasing or decreasing? So if I read this left to right, it starts out high and goes low. So it will never be increasing. Where is the function decreasing? Well, it starts high and goes low. It'll always be higher on that left side and go down lower on the right side. So it is always decreasing. What is the rate of change for function? So rate of change when I have a linear function is the same thing as slope. So I can look at my equation over here and see what the slope is. And my slope is right here. it was -1. So I can write that. And then my intercepts. So you should be able to read your intercepts from your graph. So x-intercept, that's where it crosses the x-axis. It crosses the x-axis right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 at -4. I always want you to write that as a point and name the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. I can actually read that from my graph here or from my equation. So negative, whoops. So that should be 0, -4. So let me erase that. Okay, to the next problem. Again, should write this down here. So 5 minus y equals 2. So that's, I want to change that into slope-intercept form and standard form. For slope-intercept form, I need to get the y by itself. So I am going to subtract 5, and I get -y equals 2 minus 5 is -3. Remember, I always need a positive 1 y, so I'm going to divide by -1. And so my final answer is y equals 3 is my answer. For standard form, remember I want my x's first, and then my y's, and then my number. So actually, when I move this around so the y, I don't have any x's over here, and my y's by itself, this is also going to be in standard form. So this is a special kind of equation, notice, because we don't have any x's in there. So looking at my page before, when I have an equation that says y equals, it's going to be a horizontal line because it doesn't have, it has a slope of 0. So as I come over here, y equals 3, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So there's my point, and a horizontal line will just go straight across. So graphing my horizontal line, there is my graph. What type of function is this? Again, this is a linear function. What is the parent function? Y equals x. Where is the function increasing? So, this graph goes straight across. So will it ever be increasing? No, never. Where's it decreasing? Is my graph ever going to go slope downward? Nope, never. And we'll go to more formal language on that a little bit later. What is the rate of change? So remember, the rate of change is slope. And I can pick 2 points on my line and figure out the slope. So here's x, here's y. So let's see, that point is 0, 3. And let me pick another point on my line. Let's just pick this point right here, which is 1, 3. So to go from 0 to 1, I'm adding 1. To go from 3 to 3, I'm adding 0. Slope is always the change in y over the change in x. So I have 0 is my change in y, and my x is a 1. 0 divided by 1 is always 0, so my slope is 0. Name the x-intercepts. When will this graph cross the x-axis? Never. So we're going to say NA. Name the y-intercept. Where does this graph cross the y-axis? And it crosses the y-axis at 0, 3. So for our last one, go ahead and pause the video and see how many pieces you can answer. Okay, so let's see what you have. Can I write this equation in slope-intercept form? Well, slope-intercept form, remember, is y equals mx plus b. So my problem here is I don't even have a y to solve for. So this is a special kind of line, so I can't actually write in that form. I'm going to come down here. Standard form means I want my x's first, and then my y's, and then my number. I don't have x's and y's, I just have x's, so I actually can just change this a little bit, add 4 to both sides, and I get x equals 5. So this is standard form. There really is not slope-intercept form for this problem, so that's an NA. So over here, this means all of my x's are 5. So if you're thinking about graphing that, I can have any point I want, but my x's have to be 5. So I can have 5, 1, I can have 5, 0, I can have 5, negative 1. So let's see, 5, 0, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0 would be right here. 5, 1 would be right here. 5, negative 1 would be right here. So I have a line that is vertical. So what type of function is this? This is actually not a function. You don't know why yet. You're going to have to wait a couple days for that. So that's an NA. What's the parent graph of my function? That's also going to be an NA. Where is this function increasing? Again, it's not a function, NA. Where is it decreasing? Again, it's not a function, NA. The rate of change. So I can figure out a slope for this problem. I just need 2 points. So coming over here, let's use 5, 1 and 5, 0. To go from 5 to 5, I've added nothing. So it's 0 to go from 1 to 0. I've subtracted 1. Remember, slope is change in y over change in x. So I'm going to have negative 1 over 0. Uh-oh. So I want to take a number, and I want to divide by 0. So you should remember from previous math classes that that cannot be done. So that is undefined. For my x-intercepts, when will this graph cross my x-axis? It actually crosses at 5, 0. When will this line cross my y-axis? Well, it's parallel to my y-axis, so it will never cross. So that is an NA. And we are done.